Welcome, everyone. Joe with ECRM at our convenience session in Destin, Florida. And with me is Nat Harrington from Nat's Nuts. And he's got a great origin story. And actually, the reason why I wanted to talk to him for this podcast is the fact that he's a great example of the grind that's involved when you're launching and growing a CPG brand and why it's important that persistence is really important. So, Nat, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
And tell everybody your origin story because I found that fascinating.
Okay, yeah. So Nat's Nuts. It all originally started as a joke with my name. A friend and I were talking about the farmers market where I was from, and I said, "Oh, I love cinnamon roasted nuts, and nobody sells them there." And he just made the joke and said, "Oh, you've got the perfect name, Nat's Nuts. You got to sell nuts." So I was like, "Oh, that's funny." And a year later, I was fundraising for a mission trip with the business club at the college I was attending. We were going down to Guatemala to open up a coffee roastery that employed young mothers and orphans, and it was a really cool mission. But I didn't want to just ask friends and family for money to support me for this trip, so Nat's Nuts popped back into my head, and it was around Christmas time, and I was like, okay, great, like this is the perfect thing to sell. It's people are gonna love this. It's Christmas. So I went to Google. I looked up nut roasting machine, and the first machine I found was $6,000.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, well that I have to raise 3,000. Obviously, I'm not a dumb guy. Like the math is not adding up there. I'm not going to buy a $6,000 machine. So like any good college kid, I went to eBay and I found a handheld nut roasting machine, just a little stovetop 4-cup nut roasting machine, and it was $20. So I was like, all right, that math makes sense. So I can make that investment. So I bought the nut roasting machine. It came with a little recipe book and everything for me. So it's not a super secret family recipe.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've developed our recipe and product over the years. But yeah, I bought the little roaster and I stole nuts from my mom's cupboard for my first batch. We did cinnamon roasted pecans, and initially it was right in my mom's kitchen was my first one. But I was a college student. I was a junior in college, and I operated the entire business out of my dorm for a year and a half. So I like to claim that it was the only good smelling guy's dorm. It was exclusively a guy's dorm, and it smelled like cinnamon year round.
Well, it smells like New York during the holidays when they have the vendors roasting nuts on the corner.
And that's how they get you. The smell wafts up, and you're like, you got to chase the smell.
Yeah, I mean, that sensory experience is very important. So, okay, so you got the roaster, the $20 roaster. You start. How did you start selling them? Where did you start selling them? Because we're going to get into his whole product lineup in a little bit because we have some samples here. I tried some and they're amazing. I did the salted caramel cashews. But so at that point, how did you start moving them?
Yeah, so initially it's in a clear cellophane bag. So we're very rudimentary packaging. Okay. And I'm selling to friends and family at school and church. And they're, this is really for the fundraising. So people are giving me a $20 donation along with paying for the product. So that was the first couple of months of the business. I fundraised the total amount, and I was like, oh, this is great. I've got this funny side hustle now. That summer, I was working for the IT department at my school, and I had free weekends, and we have a pretty popular farmers market in Rochester where we lived. So I was like, this is the perfect farmers market snack. Like this is where the idea came from. So there's a perfect crossover there. So I brought the nuts to the public market, and it was a grind. It was, you're showing up at 5 a.m. and you're there until 3 p.m. You gotta wrestle for a spot in essence. So initially for the first couple of years, it was farmers markets and festivals that we sold the product at.
How many times a week did you have to go to the farmers market, and how many farmers markets did you ultimately end up doing?
Yeah. So year one, it was the first summer that we sold nuts. It was just one. It was the public market in Rochester. And it was a great experience, great learning experience to show up. Something that a lot of people know about upstate New York. We're very honest and blunt people. So it was a great opportunity for me to trial stuff and see what sold, what didn't. So I literally had people spit out nuts at the table and go, oh, this is disgusting. So obviously it hurt my pride, but it helped us to really refine our product.
Well, it's great feedback too. It's you take that, you don't look at it in a negative way.
Oh, no.
It's like, okay, well, this didn't work for, and again, people have individual tastes, but if you got a bunch of people spitting out
Yeah,
one
no.
particular flavor of
that
nuts?
was a very rare
Yeah,
occurrence
yeah, okay.
to get that reaction, but it did help us refine the product. So the first summer we had one, the
Mhm.
public market. That following summer, I
How
graduated.
many days a week did you go?
That was twice a week.
Twice a week
Yep. So
and
we'd
then
go
all
on
day?
Thursdays and Saturdays all day.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So that was 2 markets that we would do
Okay,
at
and
the
that's
same
the
market.
first year.
Yep, that's year
Okay.
one, summer one. The second summer, I graduated with a degree in business, and initially my internship was supposed to turn into my full time job after college. A week before graduation, they said, "Hey, you have worked yourself out of a job. Best of luck." So I said, "All right, well, like I don't really know what to do. I've got an apartment lined up that's really cheap. I don't really have any crazy expenses other than my student loans. Rent is like $200 because
Okay.
I'm sharing a house with a bunch
Yeah.
of guys." And I was like, "It's all right. It's nut time." So that year, rather than just doing the public market, we did 6 other markets. So that I had one person helping me go to
Okay.
other markets, but personally, I was doing 5 markets a week.
Wow.
So
Okay.
a lot
You
of
were
work.
hustling. You were hustling.
I was working hard.
And the packaging was still the same?
Yep. So we still had our clear cellophane cone with a little label on it.
Okay. Now, what was the next step from there? Because eventually you got a couple more of those cheap roasters, right?
Yep. Yeah. So we, from there, because the demand was growing, I realized my little 4-cup mixer was not able to produce what I needed, like for all of these different markets. So throughout the week, or throughout the summer, I eventually added a second roaster, and I was roasting 2 at a time. And then I
By the
added.
way, his forearms are like rocks from hand roasting.
That's right.
Because I didn't know that what was involved in that.
Oh
So
yeah, it's
yeah,
in the actual process. Like you need a lot of torque
yeah,
because the sugar is crystallizing and it turns into really like a sticky mess for a long time.
yeah.
So as that heat dissipates, it eventually gets easier. But
Okay, because now they make forearm exercise machines that mimic that.
it's that movement just sideways.
Yeah, so I'm sure you've probably seen it online. It's a forearm grip that looks like it's got 2 handles, and you
Yep.
kind of just do that. So when you were doing the motion, I was like, that's
Oh yeah,
why.
I literally had a sweatband on.
Yeah.
Like I'm in my gym shorts and t-shirt. Like I'm working out, and it's I'm spending probably 4 to 5 hours a week with 4 roasters at a time.
All right, so
maxing
you're
out
doing
capacity.
that, but then you're spending all this time at the farmers markets. Because I just want everyone to give everybody an idea of when you're launching a business, this is the kind of stuff you go through. So hours a week roasting, and then hours a week, many hours selling.
Yeah, so the 3 elements of the business was really roasting, bagging, and then selling. And I had so many friends and family help out with the bagging process. People helped with roasting, people helped with selling. So it was there are a lot of hands involved from the get-go.
How much inventory was eaten along the way, during
dude.
the process?
During the first couple of years, I ate a lot.
Yeah.
Because I got into it because the joke started because I loved cinnamon roasted almonds.
Yeah.
So I was constantly snacking. But over the years, I've eaten less and less. But whenever we come up with a new flavor now, that's what I regularly have in my snack stash.
You just think of it as your QA control,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So all right, so now this is what, year 2 or getting into year 3?
Yep,
and
summer 2.
What was the next step of expansion from there, and what kind of things were you experiencing along the way, whether it's challenges, setbacks,
Yeah, so we obviously, like, manufacturing, learning how to keep up with manufacturing was something that was an initial challenge. So summer 1 is 2016, summer 2 17. We go from 1 market to 7. The following year, we started picking up festivals as well. So it would be a long weekend of work rather than just you show up for a couple hours and leave. So now I'm camping in my car, I'm staying in a tent, things like that. So the labor demand was a little bit more. And we did this for a couple years. It was the process of, during the summer, I'd sell nuts. During the off season, I'd find a job doing either retail or working landscaping and plowing and doing.
Okay, so you're working other jobs to support yourself and the business.
Yep.
And then during those peak seasons, when you're talking about, like, when the festival season is, when the farmers market, obviously not like.
Right. Yeah. When it's cold and rainy, we're not.
Okay.
We're not showing up.
Okay. So you're doing that at the same time. So what was the next evolution? Where did you kind of expand?
Yeah. So the next step, and it was all my wife's idea. She was like, "Hey, we should really consider doing wholesale for this product. We should put the nuts in a nice package and sell them to stores."
Okay.
And initially, I thought, because I'm like my goal was never to turn this into like a big business. I was like, oh, but we'll be competing with ourselves, which is
Yeah.
exactly what we should be doing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like I don't necessarily want to be at the market every day.
Mhm.
So as soon as we got that first wholesale account, like the light bulb went off in my head, and I
Okay.
was like, this is amazing.
Mhm. And
Um,
what kind of wholesale account was it?
it was a coffee shop,
Oh,
so it
okay.
was the same people that we went to Guatemala with
Mm.
for the mission trip. So I brought them at the time they were called Jack Daniel's pecans. I brought them our bag of Jack Daniel's pecans. We put it in a little stand-up pouch similar to this. So this is our to give you an idea. This is our product. It was that stand-up pouch with a little window, craft, very homemade looking.
Yeah.
Because we're still making the nuts right in our home kitchen,
Okay.
which we had the New York State home processor exemption, which was really nice for
Oh, okay.
to be able to legally do
But
that.
you're not using the $20.
I'm still using the $20 roasters at this point. And our
That's good.
my
That's
farms are getting stronger
Okay,
and
that's a
bigger.
lot of work. Yeah.
My carpal tunnel is developing.
Okay.
But we finally started doing that. Our first year of wholesale was 2019,
Mhm.
and by the end of the year, we had 20 wholesale accounts.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, "This is great! Like this is it's growing very organically. They're local places. We can drop them off in
Yeah.
person." And the second year, 2020, was COVID. We went from 20 to 70 wholesale accounts, so we experienced pretty
Yeah.
significant growth.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, once we had finished that year, I was like, this is where I should be focusing all of my efforts. I should be 100% focusing on wholesale. That year, we finally got a commercial kitchen, so we legally could sell outside of New York State and ship the product,
Yeah.
which was, opened up the world to
That's
us.
the next. Yeah.
It literally opened up the world. So we went from that year from 70 wholesale accounts to 700.
Wow.
And this is
Okay.
all just organic. We are sending samples, and
Yeah.
it was a very simple process. I'd find a store on Google as a lead. I'd call them, figure out who the buyer is, and say, "Hey, my name's Nat. I own a nut roasting business. Here's what we sell. I'd love to send you a free sample."
Okay.
So the initial sale was, "Would you like a free sample?"
Yeah.
Which is most people would say yes to that. And then because the product is really good, it speaks for itself. People would try the product and say, "Oh, this is great. We're gonna buy this."
And at this point, is that when you have this packaging?
Yeah, so we finally got this nice packaging in 2021.
Okay.
So at this point still, we had upgraded to a black bag with stickers.
Okay.
So we had a front and back sticker with the nutrition label, the logo, everything. It was a similar looking bag, but very laborious for us to put the sticker on the front and the back and then fill the bag up.
But again, it's that next step. It's what you're capable, what you could do, what you can afford to invest into it.
Yep.
And then now you have this very professional packaging. Take everybody through the different flavors that you have. So
Okay.
like I said, I did the salted caramel cashews, which are amazing.
Yeah, so this is our best-selling SKU, the cinnamon whiskey pecan. Initially, it was the Jack Daniel's pecan. It was something we came up in a marketing class.
Okay.
One of our friends said, "Hey, I found this online. You guys should sell a similar product." So it quickly became our best-selling flavor. The number 2 here is our salted caramel cashew, which is, salted caramel is a very popular flavor in the U.S. So those do very well. We also have stuff like maple bourbon almonds, which are delicious. And then my personal favorite, which is a newer flavor that we have, is the toasted coconut cashew. This is one that my wife has been vying for a long time. She's been saying, we need to do a toasted coconut. We need toasted coconut. And finally released it, I think, last May. And they quickly have rose in the ranks as a popular flavor.
Excellent. So now, as you've grown, right, now you have this great packaging, you have your process, you have the commercial kitchen. What were some of the challenges that you faced, some growing pains along that time? Because what I love is the fact that the patience and that slow and steady building of your capabilities. But I'm sure there were probably some speed bumps along the way.
There were plenty. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
at being a business owner, your job is to constantly figure out problems and solve problems.
Yeah.
You identify it and then you solve it. For us, manufacturing and keeping up with demand has been an interesting part of this. Obviously, a lot of people in brands or just CPG, they work with co-packers, which I didn't know existed until 2022.
Yeah.
I literally did not know that was an industry until 2022. So just out of pure ignorance of, I never did any research on this. And for me, I always loved the manufacturing process. So I wanted to keep that in-house as much as possible. So we still manufacture all of our products. We have a 7,000 square foot warehouse now that we make everything out of. It's SQF certified. Everything's gluten-free certified. But that was probably the biggest growing pain, was getting more and more space.
Okay.
So we started with 200 square feet, it was in essence a living room for our commercial kitchen. We went to 500 square feet, 2,000 square feet, and now we're up to 7,000.
All right. And how much can you produce now each?
Yeah, so our manufacturing capability at this point is around 8 million units a year.
Oh, wow.
So we have
Okay.
significantly
Mhm.
gone up and up, and we're not roasting by hand anymore. We have a
Yes.
big 600-liter
All right.
planetary
Do you
mixer.
still have the $20 roasters?
Oh, yeah.
Have you kept them?
So whenever we trial a product, when we're thinking of a new
Mhm.
flavor, that's what I roast in my.
Okay.
That's what I use to make them.
They're still getting some use there.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
So
So
the
it's
forearms
old.
aren't
It's old
gonna,
and squeaky,
yeah.
but it gets the job done still.
All right. They're not gonna. The muscles aren't gonna wither
Right.
away.
Yeah.
Okay.
My wrists aren't screaming when I do it now.
Okay.
So.
All right. Excellent. So, all right. So, and you're dealing really with independent retail locations, whether
Yep.
it be a cafe, what kind of, when was the tipping point when you realized, you know what, now it's time to start approaching larger?
Yeah, so we now work with around 4,000 independently owned stores,
Okay.
and each of those accounts we primarily are doing direct to store. Like there are a handful of small distributors that we work with.
Still in one location,
It's
one region?
all across the U.S.
Oh, okay.
Yep, we're in
Nationwide now.
every single
Okay.
state,
Excellent.
including Alaska and Hawaii, which is pretty cool.
All right. That's a lot of work.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. We have a handful of retailers outside of the country
Okay.
as well, so we're international, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, it is a lot of labor keeping up with just you're an account manager at that point.
Yeah.
Um,
But your team has grown too, right?
Yeah, we have.
Now
Now
you
we
have
have
a team.
we have a team, right?
Yeah.
I'm not the one roasting. I'm not the one doing the sales calls. I'm really steering the ship, which that's been another kind of growing pain, is learning what exactly my role is for the business and letting things go. That's a hard thing to do.
Becoming a CEO now, or
Right.
you're the founder, but now you have to give up
I do.
some control to other people.
Yeah, and I'm realizing that's a skill. Like being a boss is a skill that has to be refined. It's not something people are born with. Maybe you have some leadership tendencies you're born with, but being able to train someone in a way that's productive and efficient is really a skill.
Okay. But now, obviously, you have the capabilities of scaling up to a large retailer, because if anything, being with all these independent retailers nationwide, I think it better prepares you to deal with the chains now, because you're dealing with 8,000 individual businesses.
Right.
Chain is one business that you're dealing with. So
Right. It does simplify the sales process. Obviously, so this weekend, doing this ECRM conference, this is our first conference.
Yeah, and I want to get into that.
We'll get into that later.
So, yeah,
but yeah, it's been such a good learning experience for what these chains need from us as a business, because we don't know. So we're learning the ropes. But yeah, it is exciting to start entering this world and saying we have the capacity now to handle these accounts.
And you know it because you're already dealing with that size of account.
Right.
Like if you're dealing with a retailer, you're pitching a retailer that's got 1,000 stores. It's like, yeah, we can do that because we're already doing several thousand.
Right. We know how to handle that. Which, if you go from, if we're in the second year of business and we're used to 20 wholesale accounts, there's no way that we single-handedly would be able to keep up with manufacturers.
Yeah.
So we've grown very organically, word of mouth. People love the product, so they're constantly passing it up to friends. So we've really been able to build up our leg muscles before reaching out.
Okay, so that's what made you make the decision? Okay, now it's time to start dipping into approaching the larger businesses and coming to ECRM.
Yeah, it's really just the natural progression of the business.
Okay.
So we work with Whole Foods locally in upstate New York, and just like the light bulb again went off and realized, oh, why are we not targeting chains?
Yeah.
We really like to have our distribution to be able to get the product into more people's hands is our goal.
Awesome.
And that's how you do it.
Yeah. Well, so how are your meetings today? Like first time, during the session, first time. How's your experience been? And tell us some details of what are you learning from your discussions?
Yeah, something that we've really learned, and this has been feedback from almost every single retailer or distributor that we've met with so far. This product, it's a 4-ounce bag. It retails for anywhere from $5.99 to $6.99 in that window. We're realizing this is probably not the ideal bag for convenience, and this is the convenience session.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we have a 1.2 ounce prototype that is not officially in the works yet, but we've been able to show people that prototype and say, this is something that'll be available in the next coming months. And almost everyone we've talked to has been very interested in that product.
Excellent. And now the cool thing, so these are good for like inline snacks, like at a grocery store.
Yeah.
Right. So
There still is a
yeah.
there's a market in convenience for it's peggable.
Yeah.
There's sometimes shelf space.
Mhm.
So some convenience stores,
Mhm.
this is a great fit, and we
Yeah.
work with a handful of independently owned stores,
Mhm.
and they do very well. It's simple, justified font, so people it takes them a split second
Yeah.
to know what the product is.
And I've spoken to some brands that do make separate offerings for the convenience industry
Yeah.
versus the supermarket industry
Right.
because it's just more okay. They want to grab and go something they can finish in one
Right,
shot.
instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So that's the point
yeah.
of our new smaller bag, which was
Mhm.
intentional for us to start being able to enter this world.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, and then so the whole point, the whole key to these things is taking that feedback, acting on it, and then in your follow ups,
Yeah.
that's what you do. So in general, like, what was how was your overall experience here?
It's been amazing. I mean, you guys have a well-oiled machine. I will say it's between the networking and just the meals together. It's a very natural.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we met. Was
Yeah.
over dinner last
Yeah,
night. You know,
yeah.
we split a creme brulee.
Yeah.
But it's just such a natural, organic way to meet people and to get in front of buyers, to get in front of other founders and people who are in the industry. It's
Yeah.
just a great opportunity to learn.
No, you're right, and I'm glad you pointed that out because yeah, it was during the dinner, the networking function that he first told me about his story, and I was like, wow, this is great. This is a great example of the value of patience and persistence.
Yeah.
For brands
And
and organic growth.
And it feels very like the way this is all structured, it feels very organic.
Yeah.
It's not, here's this just awkward meeting where you don't really know how to network. It's over food. It's over drinks.
Yeah.
It's a really nice process.
Cool. That's awesome. And then in your conversations with buyers, I'm sure when you talk about your distribution capabilities, it reassures them that you can handle their business.
Yeah, definitely. Like when we're talking to the 7-Elevens or the BPs, those guys are really big. So we're still a little bit small.
Yeah.
But if they're trialing in 300 or 1,000
Mhm.
stores, that's something we can easily handle.
Yeah.
But to do a national distribution at this
Mhm.
point, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to be at this stage and realize we can do these intros and promos and grow very organically,
Mhm.
just like we have so far. With
Yeah, and both of those convenience store chains, as well as Casey's, they all spoke during the session, and they all mentioned they start locally and
Yeah.
test it out, and
Yep.
so it's perfectly aligned. So, all right, so now, right, you had your overnight 10-year success,
Yep.
right? What's next? What's this next phase of growth, right? Obviously, you're looking at the chains and that. So, what can we expect to see from you guys next?
Yeah, so up to this point, we've spent $0 on marketing. Zero. Everything has been very, very organic. And I have a decent personality to be able to be in front of a camera and interact with people. We own our warehouse. We literally have a pickleball court in our warehouse. So we have a lot of fun. So we're realizing the next step would be doing more content to get the name out there, to get the brand out there. So when we do step into these meetings with these big players, they already have heard of us. And that really is the warm open rather than just, oh, what is your brand? I've never heard of this before.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's awesome. Well, I expect to start seeing more content from you.
You sure will.
Starting with this.
Yep.
And that's great. I loved your story, and I wish you the best of luck in your follow-ups.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks
This
for
has been a
joining
blast,
us.
man.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So thanks for joining us, and good luck with the rest of your meetings.
Thank you.
Okay.